All right. And Nikos, if you get online and want to jump in, let me know. But we're going to talk through the sustainable growth and innovation activities. First of all, Fabian Ziegler is the chair of the Sustainable Growth and Innovation Group. He's the CEO of DCC Energy. Unfortunately, Fabian could not be with us this morning, but Fabian is, I think if I were to summarize what I've seen out of him in the short time I've been with WLGA, he's very driven, pragmatic, and optimistic at the same time. And we're pushing forward on a number of fronts, including renewables, very technical pieces of adopting renewables, and then also looking at applications around the world for every market. So the agenda today, we're going to talk through kind of the plan for 2024, some recent updates, look at the work of the Renewables Working Group, the DME Working Group, as well as a new project that came out of our last industry council meeting last week in Lyon, a decarbonization roadmap and net zero plan for the industry. We'll touch on the Innovation Summit, as well as Global Technology Conference and the Global Science Conference that are both happening at LPG Week in Cape Town later this year, and a brief discussion about present and future applications. So if you look at the Sustainable Growth and Innovation Action Plan for 2024, yes.
I am back.
Okay. Do you want me to continue to carry the slides, Nikos, or do you want me to stop sharing?
Okay, carry on, and I will catch up later. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to present as well? You want me to just continue fully?
Well, I'm supposed to start this one, but you started earlier, I see. Yeah. Well,
okay.
I can continue. I can continue from now on.
Okay.
I would like to say also a few things about. I can share my screen.
Okay.
You can all see my screen. Apologies, I'm in UN in Geneva, so I had to do some things which were very urgent. First of all, I would like to start with some words from Fabian Ziegler. Fabian was not able to be with us today, but he wanted me to pass some messages, mostly around the urgency that we have for decarbonization, for the urgency to create a roadmap for decarbonization, and also to pass to everyone the latest information that we have about our renewables and the pathways study that we're doing, which does not show exactly the same picture that we had from previous studies. That means we need to work very hard on our decarbonization pathways, and we need absolutely put our full attention to our roadmap to net zero and how we are going to do that. So thanks, Sinch, for covering for the agenda that we have for the webinar today. And I will continue probably from where you had left it about the action plan that we have for 2024, which is split into two big parts. The one, it is the one about the application, the promotion of technology, the innovation, which also Sinch is so much involved. And the other part, it is about the renewables. Everything we do about the renewables, both on pathways projections and also on the blends with DME, which are mostly on separate external funding. So we will hear about all these things today, but a few things before going to renewables about what is going on the marine. The Marine has been working very well this year, and the activities were mostly about preparing the studies and reports with Lloyd's Register, with LR. So the first report is completed. It's just now at the stages of formatting it and making it nice by our designer. The other study report about the container ships retrofit has also been completed. We had last week the Fuel for Thought from Lloyd's Register, which came out, which was released. So this is available. We participated in the Posidonia event, this bi-yearly huge event with of the shipping world in Athens, and also an update that with the retrofits and new builds of LPG fuel vessels, we have now about 220, which is the total order, and some of them are already on sale, about 110. The rest are in preparation. And we're considering a report on developing the small commercial segments and the recreational boats, and we are also updating the marine charter of benefits. So this was on non-renewable parts, and a very quick thing on what we're doing on renewables, going into the steering committee meeting that we had on the 13th of June, very, very recently. You see, just for your information, two changes on our steering committee from SHV Energy and from UGI, Esther Buscher and Marcos Dreyer, who have come into the team. The agenda on this steering committee was focused on the work plan 2024, the decarbonization roadmap that I said before. It comes as a very, very high priority on our activities, and we talked about the budget and the finances of 2024. Very important, because these programs, they really take a lot of our funding, mostly external funding for the renewables. And here I would like to pass it to my colleague Gore to drive you through the renewables working group and what we have been doing here. So Gore, the floor is yours. I will be turning the slides as you tell me. Is going online? I cannot see if Gore is online. Is Gore online?
I don't believe he is, Nikos.
If he is not, then I will continue covering the renewables part. Many of you know that we have been working on the renewables liquid gas pathways and projection study. This was our flagship work for this year. This is continuing. It is a work stream one that is taking care of this. We have gone through stakeholder interviews, discussions. This is the work that is about to be completed now. We have preliminary results, and we are in the discussions. Another work we are doing at the moment is about the bio FCC to renewable LPG. This is a quick study, a smaller report, again, under the work stream one, the pathways and projection. It's about the desk research, mostly desk research in this one, and some interviews with stakeholders. We have a first briefing note, but we will complete it. We are planning to complete it about the middle of July. The third big thing that we are driving, it is under the work stream 2, which is the sustainability certification schemes for low carbon renewable liquid gases. We have awarded this work now to the consultant, to the ERM. We are having now kickoff meetings with them next week. This, we think it will be ready in something like a month or a month and a half time from now. The fourth part, which is the very big part that I mentioned before, the net zero, our net zero roadmap, we are putting it together now. We are already in discussions with with some external consultants and assistants, and we will be creating a separate work stream, a separate working group to act on this. Something which will be driving very fast from now till the end of the year. Is Gore, I think, in? I saw somehow his name coming up on my screen. Sinch, I don't know if you can help me.
Yes,
I am in.
Go. Gore, okay. Thanks for coming in. So you see, I covered part of the things that you were planning to take us through, but I can give you the floor from now if you wish, and you can tell me how to change the slides. If you wish to add something to what I have been saying, please do.
Okay, thank you. I was aiming for 1:30, so perhaps we are ahead of the agenda.
Yeah, we
in
are,
terms of following the time. Okay. Yeah, I think probably nothing to add. If you cover this slide, then let's go to the next one. I can provide a bit of detail on renewable liquid gas pathway study. We commissioned this study last year. We have made quite a bit of progress on that. The study looks at the 2050 scenario, but also intermediate timelines, 2030 and 2040. And then we look at 3 different scenarios that are differentiated by the level of policy support that we anticipate from authorities for liquid gas development, and also the technological innovation. So we call these scenarios as baseline, moderate, and high scenarios. We also develop supply pathways for global LPG sector, but those are also broken down into different geographies. So we also have those supplies and then split per pathway in terms of volumes for Asia, Europe, Africa, North America, and South America. What we have seen so far, and I'm talking about the preliminary results in the best case scenario for 2050, renewable liquid gas volume seems to appear lower than what we have seen in the previous reports, but also because in the previous reports, the approach was slightly different. And here we believe that beyond 2050, there is also a potential availability of renewable liquid gas that would continue to increase. One key finding is that in terms of renewable DME development, it would be a major component of the total supply in 2050 scenario, which just goes out to show that RDME is an important molecule to decarbonize the sector. If you go to the next slide, Nikos. So more in terms of next steps, we have some additional requests that we are discussing with the consultants. We are also trying to look at supply availability of renewable liquid gas beyond 2050. And combined with this, we are also interested to understand what is the total maximum potential of renewable liquid gas. And then following different timelines, we would see that a fraction of that total potential would materialize by 2030, 40, and 50, and even beyond. It just gives us a bit of a sense of the magnitude of the feedstock that is available out there and what can be allocated to our sector, and to try and compare or match those volumes with the existing consumption that we have for LPG, excluding chemical sector. We would also include Oceania in our regional analysis, because so far we have integrated projections for Oceania within Asia. So from Asia, we'll also extract data for Oceania and present separately. And also, I think some small details, the DME and LPG are different in terms of their calorific value. So when you present renewable liquid gas volumes, we want to make sure that we use the same common denominator, same unit, so that DME volumes and LPG volumes are comparable. So as next steps, we would integrate these additional requests into the scope based on the last feedback round that we conducted with the members of WLGA on the model. We need to fine-tune the model, and then we would compile the report. So I think we are aiming to conclude this report in Q3 to then present it hopefully in Cape Town. That's it from my side, Nikos.
Yeah, again, thank you, Gore. With this, we go into the second working group that we have, which is about the safety, technical, operational, environmental aspects and integrating renewable DME into our operations. And here I would like to give the floor to Steve Hallett from Dymeta to take us through the work that we have done and the highlights. So, Steve, floor is yours. I'll turn the slides. Is Steve in the call?
I don't believe he is, Nikos.
Okay. All right, then I will cover this part. If you see Steve if you see since Steve coming in, let me know. We have progressed quite well on actually very well on this part of integration of renewable DME into our operations. The 12% blend, the definition, we discussed it in the meeting of READ ADR in March. There was very good support. There was good support, but they preferred to refer the decision in September, to wait for the results from the UN in June. Actually, this is where I am at this moment. And we started this discussion before I joined into this call, and we will continue it also after this call. So it's a very important discussion, this approval of 12% of DME into LPG. So this is the second bullet point, in fact, the request of the 12% in the UN through this special provision. I had not planned it for going into detail here, but we have many countries who are supporting our position, about 7 countries who are supporting clearly our position, but we have also 2-3 countries who are opposing our position. So this needs to be sorted out later on. I'm organizing a meeting during lunchtime, I mean now, in fact, and further discussion when we resume the meeting in the afternoon.
Nikos, just to let you know that Steve has joined the meeting, so if you want to pass the floor to Steve, okay. I think he's there for you.
That's great. Steve, I will leave the floor to you.
Thanks, Nikos, and apologies, I was under the impression this started at half past, but yeah, thank you, Nikos, and I think we're hearing the news hot off the press from Nikos as he sat in Geneva around the current update on the request for the special provision of the UN. Just ultimately, in summary on this slide, really what we're talking about is the hierarchy of the approach that we need to take with regards to administering the various changes to the regulations. So the UN, the special provision that we are requesting, will ultimately be a precursor to the change of the definition in LPG within the ADR. And that definition will then lead to the modification of LPG standards, certainly through SEN, but also through further afield areas of the US and other regions. It is a complex area, however, I would say, and that there is opportunity for us to influence standards without changes to the UN and ADR. It is certainly made more difficult in the event that we are unsuccessful in these discussions. But ultimately, we have a plan of attack, and we are progressing well, and we are still very hopeful that we will get the acceptance shortly. If we go on to the next slide, Nikos. So from a project perspective, just as a reminder, we generated a risk register back in January 2022, and that risk register ultimately generated a huge number of actions that we are due to complete. Those actions continue to drive our activities. The dashboard that you see in front of you now is really a summary of our progress against those actions. So if you look in the top left-hand corner, the pie chart there, that shows all of the actions that we identified at the risk register, and we're about 50% complete now. So we've closed 53% or 63% of the actions that we identified. We have a healthy portion underway, around 30% of the actions are underway and pending closure, and we only have a few, so around 20%, that remain unstarted at this point in time. We have identified, the path and the progress made has not been straightforward. We have identified in some testing that follow-up testing has been required, and so some of those actions have taken slightly longer than we estimated to complete. But ultimately, the trajectory remains the same, and we remain clear on the work that we're doing. Our focus has certainly shifted now from the kind of more fundamental transportation and storage focus to downstream applications and use, and particularly we have a strong focus on legacy equipment and the equipment that is already in the field and its compatibility with DME. From a budget perspective, we have perhaps a slightly rosy picture to the right. So we've committed around 50% of our budget for this year, but that is due in part to the fact that some spend has been deferred and has been delayed due to various reasons that we'll discuss on the next slide. So on the next slide. Thank you. So all of our testing is now complete. So those actions that I mentioned previously, the 63 or so actions that we have closed, they were all actions associated with the UN and ADR submissions. So that remains our current state of play and is really the precursor for the work that Nikos is doing in Switzerland. We always plan to start moving downstream and start looking further at equipment and appliances and end use, and that has been delayed due to some test house availability. We placed a hose order prior to Christmas, so for some hose testing, and we were told after around 3 months of waiting that the organisation who was doing that work had gone into administration. So that's caused us some significant delay to certain areas of the testing that we're planning on completing this year. We are, however, making good progress on metallic material testing. We have some further long duration testing underway there, Zamac, bronze, and solder materials. And we're also making good progress on understanding odorant concentration requirements and also the compatibility of DME with water. We have now completed our phase one testing of appliances under the chair of Adriana Zania, who joined us around 2 months ago and took over from Amin, who left at the turn of Christmas. And that phase one of testing will now lead on to a second phase of testing where we have a renewed focus on specific appliance and combustion types. We are, however, making good traction with our engagement with OEMs, particularly boiler and appliance manufacturer OEMs, and they're being engaged to participate in this second phase of testing. And we hope that their input will be very valuable as we can start to come to some conclusions. We're also aware of a number of different practical trials that are underway in several locations. Obviously, we have the well-publicized UK trials, but we're also aware of other trials in and around Europe and the US. For instance, there is the Green Village trial, which is a Dymeter-sponsored trial in a practical domestic setting, whereby a boiler is being tested for long-term exposure to DME LPG blends, as well as other appliances, space heaters, cabinet heaters, and stoves. We have made good progress on materials compatibility standardization. So this is EN 549. We have recently been told that it will be modified without full revision. So it's going to go through as an amendment, and there will be an informative annex added to that, demonstrating or providing the normative reference as to how you test materials, elastomeric materials, with DME LPG blends. So that's making very, very good progress. PAS 6666 is a UK national standard, which is ultimately a precursor to the amendment of EN 437. That has stalled. We're awaiting some flame speed testing that we're hoping to be complete in and around September. which will then allow us to restart that activity and hopefully bring around some normative change specific to the UK. And as I mentioned previously, our budget position is currently healthy due to this delayed spend. So the delayed spend on hose testing, some of the delayed testing as we plan to enter into phase 2 of the appliance testing, and several other smaller pieces of work. But the UN decision will ultimately drive our next steps, and will ultimately drive our next work in the standardization agreement.
Indeed.
So next
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Steve. And indeed, as you said, the UN decision is going to drive so much from now on. But it is such a difficult discussion. Imagine everyone that we are dealing with China, with the US, with Europe, with Canada, with all sorts of nations, that everybody has their own opinion, their own objectives, their own interpretation of the issues we are proposing. But indeed, the UN decision this week is going to drive so much. So thank you, Steve, for all this presentation, the excellent work that is being done on this work group 2. And here we go to the agenda of the carbonization roadmap and net zero, which, as I mentioned before, it is one of the top priorities from now on to the end of the year, and particularly a priority for our chair, Fabian Ziegler from DCC. And we had very good discussions in the steering committee meeting for the Renewables and the Industry Council in Lyon last week. So the project objectives, as you see here, it is we need to understand what are the ingredients that will be needed to develop this decarbonization net zero, call it roadmap. Why we're doing this, I think it's obvious. There is so much request every time, for ourselves, for the industry. Where are you going? How fast are you driving it? What are the steps that you're taking? We have discussions with policymakers all the time, and they are asking for this. So we need to visualize through this roadmap better where are we going and how we are going, and in this way we will get also the chance to understand all of us the same thing, the scope, how we're going to get there. So this roadmap will visualize the roles of the LPG in the future, in the low carbon energy system, as we say. We will create a framework, a generic framework for the industry, which of course will need to be adjusted in the various geographies. There are various priorities and urgencies in various geographies. Absolutely, from all this work, we are all going to learn a lot. And we are all going to not only learn, but also align ourselves on the storyline wherever we are, in Europe or in the US or in other parts of the world. We said the 80-20 rule will be okay. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking just to advance. So we already started doing this work, and you see on the left a picture of what the LPG footprint looks like, the part that production takes it up, of transport, of distribution, the part of the consumption. So the way we are envisaging it for the moment is just the first step is we need to develop a baseline. Where are we today? So where is our industry today with the current status, how we are operating? Then we're going to break down the life cycle emissions to this production, distribution segments, as you saw before. We need to assign the default carbon intensities there. Then we need to see what are the levers to help us reduce each one of this breakdown, each one of these stages. Carbon offsets, renewable liquid gas, of course, it is our big and first priority. Then carbon capture we're going to use, and all the other levers that we can use to bring down our carbon footprint. Then we need to quantify these levers. We need to see other scenarios. We need to connect scenarios from other countries, from other companies who have created the same. And obviously, we cannot do this ourselves, so we need to get support for external advisors. John MacArthur, as you see here, it is a renowned consultant in this area, and we started already working with him, and also with Eric Johnson. Everybody knows Eric Johnson, I think, by now, to help us put together that. So the summary of where we are and of all the discussions we had in the strategy, in the renewables committee and the industry council. Yes, there is a strong need for net zero roadmap. The work scope extends beyond the renewables working group, so we have to include solutions from other renewables molecules to get net zero. We are going to put a work stream or task force or whatever working group, which will represent also advocacy colleagues. We know we are creating this story to advocate. This is something which is very important, how we talk to the policymakers. So we need to work together, the SGI and the advocacy. The starting point, yes, it's a white paper. We're going to put a white paper together outlining the scope, the objectives, how we're going to do that, the role of each part of us. And we are going to have a phased approach to be efficient and produce all the deliverables. What is the ask here? It is all of you, please do come back to me and let me know of people from your organizations or people that you know, competent people that should be part of this working group or work stream or task force. It is important that we are all together in this, and all members participate in this work. So please do come back to me with any nominations you may have. So this is about the roadmap, and here I would leave the floor to Sinch to take us through the Strategic Innovation Summit of 2025. So, Sinch, the floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you, Nikos. Everything we've looked at today as we look at adoption of renewables, new molecules into the supply chain, even safety and innovation and advocacy and bringing molecules into new markets. Innovation is a key part of all of that. As we look back at some of the things Nikos just mentioned on the roadmap and how LPG contributes to a low carbon future, and we start talking about carbon capture and operational efficiency and all the levers that help make that happen. Innovation is a key driver to taking our industry into the future. So, we've had 3 of these so far. The first one was held in 2020 in Washington, D.C., 2 years ago in Tokyo, and then last year it was back in Washington, D.C. We are now adding Europe into the Innovation Summit, the Strategic Innovation Summit Tour. In January of 2025, the week of January 27th, we are going to hold an Strategic Innovation Summit in Paris, France. This is just a note to mark your calendars. We'll be identifying the location, putting together the agenda, but this is will be an annual event that's going to focus on how we innovate, almost every aspect of our industry to make sure that we have a secure and sustainable future. So it's going to be an important event with great topics, and we need industry leaders to attend and have the discussions about how, the strategies we're going to take to adopt innovation and innovate our industry. So mark your calendars for the week of January 27th, 2025, and it'll be in lovely Paris, France. So welcome you all.
A fantastic event, I'm sure. Thanks, Sinch. And this takes us, starting talking about innovation, Strategic Innovation Summit. This takes us to the other innovation platforms that we have. and of course the Global Technology Conference, GTC 2024. You all know about it. The message here is, you know, that the call of abstracts, it's open since April. What is needed is that all of you, all of us communicate widely around our network for papers on innovative, developments on whatever which is related to innovation, on operations, on safety, on applications, everything. Called for the papers is the closing on the 28th of July, so about a month from now. So it is quite urgent now that we get together everyone from the industry and outside the industry that have something innovative to present in Cape Town. Together with the Global Technology Conference, also about the Global Science Conference. Global Science Conference, it is about the innovation renewables papers that are related to the production of renewable LPG, renewable DME, in fact, renewable liquid gas. And we have again, as last year, in our LPG week, almost the entire day of Friday, the last Friday of the week, dedicated to the Global Science Conference. And again, the message, as before, please pass this to your network, to everyone you know who is developing technology on the production of liquid gas, especially on early stage technology. We're interested to hear about them and work with the developers to bring forward the production of our renewable products. And this takes us now to another very interesting, and this is again a call for the members. We need to see, we need to work on which are really the applications, LPG applications, DME, liquid gas applications for the future. We can give us a good future. And here we would like to share your views. So just let us know what you think in your region, in your geography, in your company, are these applications which will take us further to the next 10, 20, 30 years. Now, which are the ones who have the highest potential, not only on the net zero markets, not only the ones that we used to say, which are the ones that will fit into a decarbonized world, because our world will not decarbonize itself in the same rate, depending on geography. So we want to hear everything. Which are the applications for our conventional LPG market? Which are the ones that you think that will take us further to a decarbonized market, a net zero market? Which are the ones that are compatible, or they help the electrification of everything, as we say. We are hearing about power generation with LPG for charging electric cars. Yes, why not? And maybe we will see much more in the future. So which are the ones that serve your region, serve your country, you think they have a future? Please come back to us. I mean, you can simply write it in the chat now as we talk, or you can come back to me by email. You see my email on the screen. Both things will work very well. But we do need your input, because only with your input you will make sure that we work on these subjects, we work on these applications for you. So your input, very important here. So this is a call here. And then it remains a big thank you, and to pass the floor to James to close the webinar. So the floor is yours, James.
All right, thanks, Nikos. Yeah, they say a good meeting is one that finishes early, so this, by that definition, is a good meeting. But it's also, I think it was a very good meeting in terms of the amount of, let's say, updates, which is the purpose of this meeting, that you've all given. So big thank you to the team, but also the external speakers that took part today. I think you can see that we're doing a huge amount of work. We can't present everything we're doing in 2 hours. We probably struggle to cover it all in one day. But there's a lot of work that's going on through the networks, through the working groups. And if you really want to get more involved, that's really where you have to start focusing. So contact me, contact anybody in the team if you want to start getting more involved in any specific aspect of what we're doing. We covered, without going into the full details of everything, but we went from African development, renewable molecules, decarbonization of the industry, innovation, safety, diversity, and of course, advocacy. And I think you've seen we've had some extremely successful advocacy campaigns this year, which is ultimately, what it's all about. We've got to educate people and influence people. Before I finally close the meeting, I just want to come back to LPG Week. It was mentioned by Esther during the meeting, but I think it's worth just emphasizing how important it is that you attend. It's not going to be just an African event, but of course there will be quite a lot of focus on Africa, but it's the unique global gathering of the industry. And if you're anywhere in this industry, in any part of it, it's going to be for you. The intelligence, the business, contacts, network, and the insights that you're going to get will help you. And of course, as you know, you've seen it, it's the Global Technology Conference, it's the Global Science Conference, it's the CEO Conclave, and many, many, many other side events and learning opportunities and social networks. So yes, remember the super early bird rate is available until the end of this week. And after that, there will be an early bird, but it won't be quite as attractive. So if you want to get the best rate, make sure you register quickly. We will have another member update for Q3. That will be on the 24th of September at the same time. So put that into your agenda. For those of you who are watching this online afterwards, so it'll be on our website. Please try and join us live next time, because I think you'll find that it's actually really interesting to hear what's going on as it happens, if you like, live from our team members. With that, I look forward to seeing you on September the 24th, if not before, somewhere in the world. Take care and have a great day. Thank you.